RRB special budget. Get ready. Start. Mr. Vice Chairman, I am indeed very grateful to the honorable members who have participated in this discussion. The subject which they have touched are beyond the scope of this bill, but I have greatly benefited by their views, and these matters have been coming up off and on in this house. I would not like to repeat the answers which I have already given in this house to earlier queries of honorable members. But one point which was raised by my friends was that retrospective legislation, so far as the refund of tickets is concerned, is not warranted by law. It is not that the railways did not have the power to deduct this amount, but what was provided in the Act itself was that in the Act itself, they have said that Section 47 of the Indian Railways Act requires a railway company, or in the case of a railway administration, the central government shall make general rules for certain specified purposes, and many among these purposes there is one purpose providing for the accommodation and convenience of passengers and regulating the carriage of their luggage. It was in exercise of these powers that the central government notified through a gazette notification dated 1st October 1992 a general rule that the railway administration may reserve a seat, a berth, a compartment, or a carriage, as the case may be in a passenger train, in accordance with a condition in the timetable in force for the time being from time to time. And in 1945, when the system of levy and cancellation charges was introduced, it was given publicity by being incorporated in the conditions published in the timetable in force. So we had the powers to make rules, and under those rules, these things were published and given a wide publicity in the timetables. But subsequently, it was a committee on subordinate legislation which held that the railways could possibly change this particular rule, and they should try to levy these deductions under the statute itself. So one can say not that we did not save powers, but possibly we had inadequate powers. So it is to meet this particular shortcoming that this particular section has been introduced in this bill. The second point is with regard to the compensation which is paid to the victims of railway accidents. Honorable members have pointed out that we should have brought a more comprehensive bill because the statements made earlier by the minister in this house was that compensation for every person who die in railway accidents will be raised to rupees 50,000. We are very shortly going to introduce an insurance scheme in the railways, and this compensation will raise to rupees 50,000 for persons who lost their lives or get seriously injured in the railway accidents. The whole scheme has to be worked out, and it will take time. I hope this will benefit the passengers. Another important point on which most of the members have spoken is the enhancement of the penalty of imprisonment in certain cases. My friend and some others said this was too much and we should have some consideration of human life. For the protection of human lives, we have brought enactment. In the case of the violence by individual against individual self-defense comes in, but where a person deliberately commits something which he knows will result in death, such an intention has to be treated differently. Such an offense may even cause death to hundreds and thousands of people. Suppose a person removes a fish plate, it may cause death of many persons. This will be an act of sabotage. If that man is hanged, then there is no reprieve. It has happened that in a case of a murder, a person has been hanged, but many years after it was proved that he was innocent. There is no reason why in this particular case the man should not be hanged who is responsible for the death of so many passengers. There could be no two opinions about it. As far as punishment of death is concerned, there can be a difference of opinion about the execution. My friend raised a very pertaining point that the railways will have to go to underdeveloped areas. Now we are not worried about the old, outmoded idea that is there should be development of the area and then the thrust should follow. It is our duty to see that the areas which are far-flung and which are underdeveloped are economically developed. Sir, he has raised three very pertinent points which have been agitating his mind. It could see this from his tones and from his actions that his mind was very much exercised. For having a very fast train from here to his place. Sir, I am not in a position to give a firm promise at this stage, but I can assure him that this matter is being looked into. There are certain restraints and constraints at various levels, but once the difficulties are removed, there is no hesitation on our part that far-flung areas of Assam and linked with Delhi. With regard to divisional headquarters, we stand on our firm commitment. There is correspondence going on between the state governments and the railway ministry. It has got a stock up on one point. I think my friend will be able to help me. We wish that the land to be allotted to the railways is given in a developed condition, but the state government says that they will give the land as it is. This is a very minor point of difference which can be settled and sorted out between the state government and the railway ministry, and I can assure the House that the railways stand firmly by their commitment. Once the state government clears this particular point, we shall go ahead with it. Stop. ये हो गया 100 1000 हो गया ना।